Well, hello there, and welcome to Joe's Career Shack. I'm Joe, and today we're going to be doing a rehousing of a Cuban Blue Scorpion. And we'll also discuss a couple questions that you might want to address when picking out that next enclosure for your tarantula or scorpion or other arachnid or arthropods. So, let's get to it. All right, let's take a minute to talk about acrylic enclosures and one of the big problems you need to consider about them before you buy that next enclosure. That problem is warpage. Now, that's caused when you get an enclosure that the gauge is just too thin for the area that they're trying to make a lid for, and it can result in a problem. And that's the reason we're rehousing this Cuban Blue, because we had a 6x6x8 enclosure, a slider, and the lid warped and it doesn't fit into the channels for the slider anymore. It pops free, and it's just a oops waiting to happen. That conversation that you might end up having if it happens to you and you have a centipede or a death stalker in there. Yeah, that's going to go over like a lead brick with your landlord or your better half. You probably don't want to deal with that. But here's the lid, and you can kind of see it's warped, and I'll hold it up with a brand new one. And this new one is actually a few months old. It's been in the box. But you can see it's pretty warped, and that creates a problem where when it slides in, these earth magnets down here aren't grabbing in. It's jumping out of the channel. And if you've ever seen how strong a scorpion or a centipede or some of your tarantulas can be, when they want to get somewhere, they can tend to move things. So spend a few extra bucks, get the heavier gauge material for your enclosure. Like I said, the 2-inch, the 3-inch cube is not really a big deal, but the 6 and up, you might want to start considering. You might want to spend a few extra bucks and get that thicker material. Now, something else I want to talk about is vibration. And, when you walk in and say you set something down, that vibration, your critters in your room, wherever, will feel that. And they'll be on the alert. And they'll be less likely to behave naturally. So you want to do something to mitigate your presence. And here I got a new enclosure, and you can kind of, I'm not slamming it down. I'm not doing anything like that. But it's making a lot of vibration, and that's going to be transferred through the table or shelf that you have your critters on, and they're going to know you're there. They're going to think a predator's around, and they're going to hunker down or tense up, and you don't want that. But here's something I do to mitigate that problem. And these are felt tabs that you can get from your local hardware or Amazon. They're pretty cheap and inexpensive. And here I have some 1/4-inch. The larger ones I use for bigger enclosures are 1-inch discs. But these little 1/4-inch ones will work just fine for today's purposes. I'll put these on and show you how much this quiets it down and will mitigate the transfer of all that vibration. That's gonna subdue that vibration going into this enclosure, putting that creature on alert that something's around. I need to worry. So that's something to think about, and it's a cheap solution. I hope it helps you. Well, let's get on to the rehousing of our Cuban Blue Scorpion. All right, now we have much of the prep work done, the soil into the enclosure wetted down and all that done, and we also have the various materials we're going to use for the build out, and even the Cuban Blue Scorpion set in a container so it makes it a little easier to transfer and she's had a chance to calm down. All right, so let's get with it. Hey, we're going to set this rock in first, and we dug it out a little. Just give her a little bit of a head start on if she wants to hide under this rock. And keep in mind, all this is for aesthetics mostly, But you also want to keep in mind, if you want to set up your enclosure so it somewhat looks like what their environment looks like, and that will help them to behave more like they're in the natural habitat, which will add to that joy of watching them. All right. So let's get some of these little sticks we have and set them up. Sitting them in, kind of anchor them. Have them in. Little modified paintbrush I have here. Okay. Little bark hides for her. Got a water bowl we'll put in here. Anchor it in. And I like to add a little dish of food for crickets. So since she is actually behaving like she might be pre-molt, if I happen to miss a roach or a cricket in here, it's going to eat that rather than try to eat my scorpion when it's in that vulnerable stage. Get another stick in here just to add a little more contrast. And we got a couple clippings of a plant we have in the other enclosures. And if you just bury the stem down in the dirt and the dirt stays fairly moist, they'll stay alive for a very long time. We'll just give a little color, a little aesthetics, I guess. Oh. Mm. Oh, you can see, kind of turns out nice. All right. Now let's commence with putting her in her new home. And here she is. See? I want to tilt it too far. She'll get excited. Don't want that. Not in that stingy mood yet, so that's a good thing. Whoops. Okay. Let's move out. Alright. There we go. And we'll commence with putting the lid back on. Yes, nice, decent lid thickness. This enclosure is not going to warp like the other one did, and it's a good size for her, so it'll work out pretty nice. Okay, now that we have our Cuban Blue transferred into her new home, we will get a little water into the water bowl with our trusty little turkey baster. You can find these at your local grocery store even. And let's get some of the specifics on this scorpion. It's about a medium-sized scorpion, a size of 2.5 to 3.5 inches in length. That's measuring from the mouth parts to the tip of the tail with it laid flat. I'll give you your length on a scorpion. This scorpion likes to live in savannas, wetlands, under bark, logs, and rocks in most of Cuba. The Heteroctenus Junceus is its official scientific Latin name. Good luck pronouncing it. I think that will about do it here. With this, we'll put the lid on and get her back to her shelf, and maybe throw a roach in there later. Well, that's going to about cover it for today's rehousing of the Cuban Blue Scorpion. I hope you enjoyed it. It's certainly my intent. And at this time, if you could take a moment to like and subscribe the video and add your comments down below for any future content on species specific content you'd like to see, let me know. And I guess till the next sting, here's the Critter Shack signing off. You have a great day. Bye bye.